Hello and welcome everybody to the CoStar News Hotels podcast. I am News Irish Sean McCracken here with STR's Jesper Palmqvist. Jesper, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you, Sean. Good to see you again. Happy New Year.
So back to just the two of us this month. We're both in a bit of a hurried mode today, to be candid to our listeners, but we'll not shortchange anyone in terms of conversation, I'm sure. So Jesper, let's jump into it as we do every month, kind of the high level trends in Asia Pacific. And I know this month we've got some pretty significant data to talk about, correct?
Yeah, that's true, because we end up, the most common question, of course, this time of year is recently when we process all the year-end data. So when I look at the, say, 15, 17, 18, whatever, like top countries, so people ask about. So I suppose I'll ask you, who do you think were the top three RevPAR growth countries year-end 25? Who do you think? Here we go. Three countries.
RevPAR growth. Oh,
yeah,
geez.
RevPAR growth in 25.
So you want to say Japan because Japan has been so strong, but
Japan
also
is in the top three. It is number three. Got one.
I was going to say, but it's coming off a high bar, so it's not like.
So did you get any others there?
I mean, I'm trying to remember who we said was bad was now good.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say. I'm trying to remember which countries are in APAC. That's not a good start, but I know you want.
No, that's. I remember a handful of them. I mean, I'm going to embarrass myself. I remember you saying like things turned around to look okay in Vietnam for a minute. Like,
oh my God, he's got two. He's 2 for 3. 2 for 3. That is number one. So
all right. So I remembered what you said to me.
My God, you're the first.
I don't know.
It's a small country in the shape of a teardrop in the Indian Ocean.
Jeez.
It is, of course, Sri Lanka. So
that's kind of a wild variance one, right? Like that's I was gonna have to go through the checklist in my mind of all the countries I know it wasn't, and then we would have been here forever.
I think you're off on a good start for 26. Getting 2 out of 3 means you pay attention. You know this region. So I think what's interesting then is to look at because 6 months ago, what has changed since then? You alluded to it there. What are the positive news? Basically, well, we have Australia and India. Shout out for leading the way. That's that broad stability ended that way as well, right? It's all over the country. Korea, we talked about that as well in Q4, ended strong, getting more Chinese. That's almost 10% RevPAR growth year over year combined. I'm also a little bit impressed with Malaysia. I was fearful about that. Remember, can they hold up that growth? Every year matters now long term. Can they deliver value for all these new assets? It's not the easiest to make coin there in a new hotel. So Malaysia in there for one thing. Otherwise, New Zealand. 6 months ago, we said 2 countries that were negative, right? New Zealand and China. They turned around. They ended positive year over year as too many negative months, etc. But it started that stop loss. China ended negative, but it's only minus 2.5 in RevPAR, and ADR ended flat. And I think that's the main story there, that the shift has started. Singapore was also 6 months ago. We talked about negative rate growth, and they ended almost a point. I think 0.7% RevPAR. Earlier we had rate pressure and new supply, but Q4 got that back. A majority of countries are positive, and the only disappointments to highlight would maybe be, to some degree, maybe Indonesia, which we alluded to as well. It ends like a couple of points plus, but that's 10% rate up and 8% negative in occupancy, right, with the government limitations, etc. So, and they're not at 85% occupancy at a national level, so it's not that they're yielding. So there's a bit of pressure. And the second one being Thailand, right, at national level.
So obviously you wanted to talk more about Thailand. It's kind of an interesting market right now, especially, I mean, obviously everything going on with Cambodia is kind of the big headlines, at least over here, but traditionally a pretty strong travel market. What are you seeing now?
Yeah, plenty of news coming out. And when the listeners get this, some of them will have attended the largest tourism event in Thailand. That is the Thailand Tourism Forum that we at CoStar, we sponsor and help organize. It's 1,300 people. It's a whole bunch of speakers, and we'll lay down some facts there. So I'll give you the highlights there. And in terms of the news, like, yes, people are excited about more flights. They focus more at a tourism authority on value over volume there now as well. There's a 3 trillion baht target in tourism. They want to look more at destination diversity. Nothing new, right, that you haven't heard from
Yeah.
otherwise. But the big news was the other day that wellness is in, and we're not talking that other
Yeah.
herbal wellness, but traditional wellness, and casino out, right? So we now had the reports there of aspiring prime minister pre-election saying that now we're going to push that down the road. This is not the right thing. So that's a huge move as well.
It's interesting you bring that up to me, though, 'cause, I do remember so last year when I was at the NYU conference in Times Square, it was stunning to me how much, like, the Thailand, tourism authority advertising kind of took over the Times Square while I was there, but I've noticed more in the last couple of months, like, they're in my inbox, like, they're so aggressive right now, and, like, I got an email from them yesterday afternoon about, like, coming to their some show in New York and talking about their theme for the year, which is "Healing is the new luxury." So, yeah, very much on brand for even what I'm seeing over here. So, it underlines how aggressive the tourism authority is being
Yeah,
right
and it's
now in
interesting,
Thailand.
and that's something that I think many will have criticized in the past, saying like we talked about how STB in Singapore has done a good job promoting itself, and historically you have Australia, but Thailand leaning on resting on their laurels. And when we're seeing what you're saying there, like that global investment trying to attract more Americans, etc., that's I think that's it's something that's been missing and pays off. And if you see it in Ohio, clearly everyone will.
Well, yeah, if it makes it to me in the hinterlands, then it
That's
must
kind
be.
of what I'm saying. No, but you also said there about the border conflict, right? So we look at that PR. Can I get that question? Will it impact? I'm often like, nah, limited, but this one for sure, because
Mhm.
if that turns into travel advisory by
Yeah,
state affairs, then which has happened for Eastern Thailand, that means no insurance, and
yeah.
that means volumes drop. Bangkok is less volatile though, and it's more about those less mature markets in Rayong and Eastern Thailand. So it's a little bit less than impact, but some. And the other thing is, of course, the scam centers, and now all the major news outlets are writing about all the Cambodians and Chinese are leaving those scam centers, etc. That global publicity. Clearly, you've seen an effect on Chinese inbound as one contributing factor. So both those can matter for it as well. But
Mhm.
otherwise, what we're talking about is Phuket, Bangkok. Phuket got some rates back. Forecasts that we're working on for Bangkok this year is probably 1% in each metric. Next year, 2 in each, because that'll take a little bit of time to get that dig back. And it's not about peak, right?
Mhm.
Extremely seasonal, snowbirds, etc. So it's about the low and shoulder seasons where they need to pick it up. There are also owners talk about Pattaya. It's going to take time. Source markets again, Chinese new supply, and they want to shift that market to be known for something else than what it historically is known for, and that's going to take time. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it is very bifurcated as well in Thailand. Samui, Krabi, Chiang Mai looking good, and some of these resort islands they look strong, they look good.
Mhm.
So it's really just like the couple of the engines there that are dependent on foreigners that are not working.
So that's the tourism outlook. What's kind of the investment outlook in Thailand?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely more acquisitions are likely in 26. Fewer greenfields, but people believe, and the owners that I talked to as well, a lot of it is around the branded resi. It's still hot, right? So you
Mhm.
look at Phuket, how much money, but I think it's important to remember for branded resi is generally only in proven luxury destinations that
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
seeing it. And of course, another viewpoint is operator credibility will
Mhm.
normally trump a brand logo um,
Yeah.
from that perspective. Otherwise, owners F&B and the footprint in hotels remains a huge discussion point. Outsourcing and fewer keys they want to do still. I think the good news is that cost is managed still much better than in the past. We
Mhm.
still, Thailand as a whole had a couple of points positive. We got par last year. Given the circumstances, that's impressive. And I think since Gopar is not RevPAR, for reference here, Japan is just above flat. There's just more diversity in that market.
Yeah.
Singapore is much lower, but then you have India and Australia much better. So there is a huge diversity. And what I've been hearing around this event now and the Thailand Tourism Forum there's just no blanket cost cutting and like payroll reductions. That's the new thing, right? You got to be lower cost is one thing, but it's flexible cost. So variable staffing, by demand clusters, fewer F&B outlets, stronger identities, and maybe one positive thing we're finally seeing is the energy as an asset lever. Hotels with solar and smart systems are seeing 3 to 5% GOP uplift. Though that kind of data point is huge for a market like Thailand.
Yeah. So usually at some point during these APAC conversations, I try and throw in some sort of news headline just to prove that I'm paying at least the minimum amount of attention to what's going on across the world. As I admitted today, like I didn't really have my time to do the news crawl. All I'm seeing right now is shark attacks in Australia, and I don't know if that's maybe a topic of discussion for this
Well,
specific podcast.
clearly it
Although
makes the news. I have one
it
comment
can't
to
be
make.
good for tourism, right?
Now, listen, I don't think it matters so much because I mean, surfing there, the majority is, domestic and what you do in the morning, every morning, as most Australians do. But the other thing is in Australian media, which is so true, and even from my family who are keen surfers on Manly, after the big storms, bull sharks come out. You don't surf straight after a big storm, right? You wait a bit, and if you don't, this could happen for sure. But it gets
So
attention.
if listeners have any valuable takeaway from this conversation, it's knowing when to not surf to avoid sharks. I feel like that's pretty valuable
I
advice.
think that's really good advice. Don't die.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
yes, in general.
yeah, in general, for sure. I also had an interesting question in terms of media when we're from the other day on events, right? So typically in Southeast Asia, now that events in the last 2 years have really people have you've seen that more in the US historically, I would say in London and Australia, but now after Coldplay, Taylor Swift, and everyone else, there's more scrutiny and more media attention around it, which is good. So the
Yeah.
next one, obviously, that signed up was these BTS, right? Another one of
Mhm.
those Korean bands. So they have declared their tour, which starts in December this year and goes into 26. So obviously, the question is, how will that's going to impact, right?
Mhm.
And I think the differentiator is so important. It's always good with an event. And
Yeah.
actually, for Singapore, it's great with 4 dates because December is a soft month. But we got to study who the traveler and how they're going.
Yeah.
And also, they play in KL, Manila, Bangkok, Hong Kong, which means limited travel. So impact, but not to the same degree. But I love the fact that it's spreading and people are spending more time analyzing these events now as well in Asia.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, from the US perspective, obviously, we got the World Cup coming up, and that's a big deal for us.
Hmm.
I think there was some discussion in the STR internal chat yesterday about how Japan has decided that their home base will be in Nashville, which is also, STR's home base.
Yeah.
And apparently there's going to be a pretty significant amount of not just, the team and fans or whatever, but the media contingent from Japan is expected to
It's a good point.
significantly boost things. So,
Yeah, it's one of those countries that always for those tournaments bring it. So that's good for a medium city like Nashville. And Japan also will send travelers, even if the yen is weak, they will.
yeah.
There's less of that political thing because if you ask many European countries, they'll be like, "Nah, US don't like it now. I'm not going to go. If my team plays in Canada, Mexico, I'll go." Right? That's how
Yeah.
bad it is in US in tourism. So, but yeah, Japan. That's good news for Nashville, of course.
So speaking of sports, obviously the big sporting event that I think we've been more interested in coming up is the Olympics. I mean, obviously there's layers and layers of kind of the APAC sporting side of that, but I think both of us are probably a little more keenly aware of what's going on with the hockey tournament, or at least
That is
what we
so
hope
true.
to have.
This is true, even though, as a Swedish person who will devour any kind of sports and a Broncos fan since 92, I obviously love the win over the Bills, which some
I
of,
don't want to talk about this. I so
oh, I,
deeply do not want to talk about this
oh,
right
that's
now.
nice. I had no idea. I had no idea you didn't want to talk about it because I mean, I enjoyed it so much. Uh, anyway, no, you're right. Let's just get to the hockey, not to make enemies out of this. Sweden, speaking of which, won the junior championships, right, in
Mhm.
Minnesota. for that,
Congratulations.
not to visit. But great result for the future. But the Olympics here, a week ago, I was like, you know what? We have such a good shot, right?
Mhm.
With our goalkeeping and defense. And then fast forward a few days, Broden and Carlson now also added to the injury list. I'm getting nervous. But is
Yeah.
that normal? Are you nervous about your chances?
No, I don't think nervous is the feeling. I think it's the sense that, like, this version of the US men's team is as good as any team on the planet. Like, I will stand by that statement. That said, Canada is still Canada. I think that, it would be a disappointment for me personally if the US did not defeat Canada and claim gold, but it also wouldn't be, like, a surprise. I also don't think, but to your point, I don't think it's a two-horse race necessarily. Like, I think the Four Nations tournament the NHL organized was pretty well timed because it
Yeah.
seems like I wouldn't be shocked to see Sweden go on a crazy run. Like, you
No,
got there's
and
injuries, but
we
it's
don't
as
see it as a
talented of a
crazy
team.
run. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, well,
yeah,
I shouldn't frame it like that, but, like,
yeah, I
they're
think we could beat anyone in the semis, and in the final, anything goes, right? Especially in
yeah.
the Olympics. So I think we have three at least teams that are tight, and the Finns are up there with the Swedes. I mean, they in that Four Nations, it was overtime or penalties, right? So it's going to be great, even if the jumbotron in the Milan Arena is too small. The rink is too
Yeah,
short by a foot and a
that's
half.
the
And again,
comically bad hockey setup, yeah.
I love Italy, but come on, is it a square we're playing now?
Yeah.
Anyway, I look forward to that, and in the background, where you know that once that wraps the Olympics, we're just a few weeks away from both spring training and footy starting. So
I will
we'll
say what my comment about the Swedish men's team in the hockey tournament this year is that
yep.
if you are an unaffiliated hockey fan, if you don't have strong feelings about any of the top teams in this tournament, Sweden is the easiest team to root for. And I will say, as a Buffalo sports fan, I would love to see good things happen for Rasmus Dahlin. Absolutely love to see that guy get some success, especially with everything that's been going on with his fiance and everything, like just toughing through
Wow.
like really
You went
personal like
there. You
turmoil.
turn it into a gossip column, but fair enough. Listen, we'll
I
take
mean, it's
any.
not gossip, it's out there. Like he's been dealing with some stuff and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
so I'm rooting for that guy. I
That's
as a
good.
Sabres
Thank.
fan, I would rather see the US win ultimately.
So if we
But
play Canada in the final, you're saying not NAFTA, but you would consider
I
us. Okay,
would I would be rooting for Sweden
there you
to
go.
win the gold medal game if it were against Canada. There's nothing against Canada. It's just literally it's just Darlene pretty much.
It's not
All right.
Canada, but it is Canada. Beautiful. Well
Um
done. No,
we are half of this episode has now been dedicated to sports talk. So maybe that's a sign we should wrap up this conversation. But
I think that's
Jesper,
fair.
thank you. Thank you so much for taking us around the Asia Pacific region again this month.
Thanks, everyone. Let's see what we end up with in terms of perhaps a mystery guest next month.
Maybe. Or maybe we go all in on hockey and we have our friend Luc Etienne from France join us, a
There you
native
go.
French Canadian. He can debate us about how Canada needs to win.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thanks,
Well,
Sean.
I'll talk to you later.
Hello, I'm Luke Haynes, People Newsletter Editor CoStar News, and the host of Top Credentials, a monthly podcast exploring the colourful careers of those working at the top of UK commercial real estate. In the episodes, we discover the valuable lessons influencing the daily decision-making of property sector leaders, and hear about the aspects of their job that make it a little easier to get out of bed each morning. We'll also ask for their views on the latest news and policies shaping our constantly evolving industry, and even get them to share a famous quote or song title they think defines their career or the profession. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. This episode of the CoStar News Hotels podcast was recorded on January 21st, 2026, and edited by Sean McCracken. Find all of our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or your platform of choice, and find more news on costar.com/hotelnews.